The email sat unopened for 3 days, glowing softly on her laptop screen like it knew something she didn't. By the time she finally clicked it, the opportunity that could have changed her life was already gone. Emily Carter was 34 years old when she began to feel invisible to her own life. From the outside, everything looked fine. She lived in a quiet suburb outside Denver, worked as a senior coordinator at a mid-sized consulting firm, and paid her bills on time. Her coworkers described her as reliable. Her family called her stable. If someone looked at her life on paper, there was nothing obviously wrong. But stability has a way of becoming a cage when it's built from fear. Every weekday morning, Emily followed the same routine. Alarm at 6:15, coffee brewed while she stared at her phone, a quick shower, neutral-colored clothes, hair pulled back tight. She drove the same route, parked in the same spot, and sat at the same desk beneath fluorescent lights that hummed softly all day. Her job wasn't terrible, it was predictable, and predictability felt safe. What Emily rarely admitted, even to herself, was that she had once wanted something very different. In her early 20s, she dreamed of becoming a documentary photographer. She loved capturing quiet human moments, an old man feeding pigeons, a child staring out a bus window, a woman laughing alone in a cafe. Her professors had told her she had an eye for stories most people missed. But dreams, Emily learned, don't pay rent. After graduation, reality arrived quickly. Student loans, a shaky job market, friends who talked about benefits and 401ks instead of passion. When her parents gently suggested she find something more secure, she listened. The camera went into a drawer. The corporate world became her new plan. At first, she told herself it was temporary. Years passed. By her 30s, the drawer had become a graveyard of old versions of herself. What she didn't realize was that beneath her calm exterior, a quiet tension was growing, a low-level anxiety she couldn't name, a feeling that she was constantly preparing for a life that never actually started. Psychologists call it deferred living, the belief that real fulfillment will begin later, once conditions feel perfect. Emily was living entirely in later. The email arrived on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Subject line, recommendation and invitation. Please read. It was from Professor Alan Weiss, her old photography mentor. They hadn't spoken in years. Emily almost deleted it, assuming it was a mass message or a polite check-in. But something made her pause. Inside, the message was simple and unsettling. Alan explained that a nonprofit media organization was launching a long-term project documenting overlooked communities across the Midwest. They needed photographers who could tell quiet, human-centered stories. He had recommended Emily. There was a stipend, modest but livable. It required travel. It required leaving her current job. It required uncertainty. At the end of the email, one sentence stood out. They need a decision within 2 weeks. Emily leaned back in her chair, heart racing. This wasn't a fantasy. This wasn't someday. This was real, and it was now. That evening, she didn't tell anyone. She went home, cooked dinner, and turned on a familiar TV show she barely watched. The email stayed open on her laptop, glowing in the dim light. Her mind immediately went to risk. What if she failed? What if she couldn't find work afterward? What if she embarrassed herself? What if she gave up something stable for something that didn't last? She told herself she just needed time to think. Over the next few days, Emily became trapped in her own mind. At work, she stared at spreadsheets while imagining empty highways and unfamiliar towns. At night, she lay awake replaying every worst-case scenario. She talked herself out of excitement before it could fully form. "This is irresponsible," she whispered one night. "You're too old to start over. Other people have real responsibilities." Fear has a way of sounding like wisdom when it repeats itself long enough. She called her mother, casually mentioning the offer without details. Her mother paused before responding. "Well, you do have a good job now, and benefits are important." Emily nodded, even though her mother couldn't see her. She called a coworker she trusted. He laughed lightly. "Honestly, I wouldn't risk it. The market's unpredictable." Each conversation reinforced the same message. Don't disrupt what's working. What no one asked her was the question that mattered most. Is it really working? The turning point didn't come with drama. No argument, no sudden revelation. It came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Emily sat alone at her kitchen table with the email open again. 12 days had passed, 2 left. She imagined quitting her job, the uncomfortable conversations, the fear of explaining herself, the loss of identity she had built around being reliable. Then she imagined staying. Another year, another 5, another decade. The image that unsettled her most wasn't failure, it was sameness. Still, fear won. She closed the laptop without replying. I'll email tomorrow, she told herself. Tomorrow never came. On the 15th day, she opened her inbox to find a polite follow-up. We've had to move forward with another candidate. Thank you for your consideration. Emily stared at the screen, numb. There was no explosion of regret, no tears, just a hollow quiet. The opportunity didn't slam the door. It simply disappeared. Life went on. That was the most unsettling part. Emily continued her routine, the same drive, the same desk, the same conversations. On the surface, nothing had changed, but internally, something had shifted. A subtle heaviness followed her everywhere. She found it harder to concentrate. Work that once felt neutral now felt draining. Small inconveniences irritated her more than they should have. She avoided her camera drawer entirely. At night, she replayed the moment she could have chosen differently. Psychologically, this is known as counterfactual thinking, the mental habit of replaying what-if scenarios. When tied to missed opportunities, it can quietly erode self-trust. Emily didn't just regret losing the opportunity, she began to doubt herself. If I couldn't take that chance, she thought, what kind of person am I? Months passed, then years. She watched friends make bold moves, career changes, relocations, creative projects. Each announcement triggered a mix of admiration and resentment she didn't fully understand. Her world slowly shrank. She stopped applying for internal promotions, afraid of visibility. She stopped exploring side projects, convinced they would go nowhere. The missed opportunity became proof, in her mind, that she wasn't someone who acted. And identity, once formed, is powerful. By 40, Emily had become an expert at explaining why not. One evening, while cleaning her apartment, Emily finally opened the drawer. The camera felt heavier than she remembered. She scrolled through old photos stored on an SD card. Faces, streets, moments frozen in time. There was tenderness in them, curiosity, courage. She realized something painful. The version of herself who took those photos would have said yes without hesitation. That realization hurt more than the missed opportunity itself. She hadn't just lost a chance, she had slowly abandoned a part of who she was. There was no dramatic collapse, no public failure, just a long, quiet narrowing of possibility. And that, perhaps, was the real cost. Not all life-altering decisions announce themselves loudly. Some arrive quietly, disguised as inconvenience, uncertainty, or risk. The psychological danger isn't failure, it's avoidance. When we repeatedly choose comfort over growth, the mind adapts. Fear becomes familiar, doubt becomes default. Over time, we stop trusting our own instincts. Missed opportunities don't always break us immediately. They reshape us slowly. Emily didn't suffer because she failed. She suffered because she never found out who she could have become. The lesson is subtle, but powerful. Self-trust is built through action, not certainty. Waiting until fear disappears means waiting forever. Years later, Emily still wonders who she might have been if she had clicked reply instead of close. Not because that path would have been easy, but because it would have been honest. So here's the question to sit with tonight. Is there an opportunity in your life right now that feels uncomfortable because it matters? And when it quietly disappears, will you be able to live with the version of yourself who let it go?